everyone, we need to talk because one of my goals is to have some sort of force that basically attracts the ship to the track, right? I need to have some sort of like glue force that kind of pushes the ship to a certain height, to always keep on a certain height of the track. But look, before I do that, I want to start thinking about the way that we are representing the track, because I really don't like the way that we are doing things, right? If we were programming for, a modern game, we could probably get away with doing all this. Remember the distance check for each one of the sections of the track we are doing. Is this section within this radius of distance? And if it is, we draw things. That means that we are drawing, well, potentially a lot more track sections that we need, right? Because, well, look what's happening here, right? So let me just quickly navigate here, and let me just show you something. So if I just go here and I go to the other side, do you see that section right there? We are seeing some sections that are inside the radius, this radius of distance check that we have, and they basically just appear, right? So do you see right there on the distance, that those sections right there, they are kind of at the end of the track, right? So maybe we shouldn't even see these things, especially for the sake of we're trying to do something that is, has performance, right? We need to keep efficiency in our minds. So this is something that I want to talk to you because, look, I don't think this is the best solution. We need to refactor and rethink the way that we are doing this render the track, right? So let me just talk to you what happens, right? So we are in a good position in a way because one of the things that is, that happens is, remember that we have a track sections file. I think it's .trs if I recall correctly. The track sections file, we have these faces of the section. So it just happens that whenever they were creating, right, whoever was responsible for creating this file, they already populated that file in the correct order of the sections. Let me rephrase that. So if I am in this first section, right, so of the track, in this linked list that we are loading, right, whenever we are reading the file and populating our linked list of all those sections of the track, it just happens that the sections of the linked list, they are in this ordered fashion, right? So I'm going to have this section, and then that is linked to the next one, and then the next one, and they are actually the track sections in the order that we are going to run the race. So that is good news, because that means that if we can guarantee that these things are in the order that they should appear, well, we don't have to do that section distance check, right? We can kind of go rogue and just say, look, just if I am in this section, just render the 20, the 30 sections ahead of me, right? So I can save a little bit of those distance checks, because that is being done frame per frame, and that is being done a lot of times, right, per frame. So it's going to be good for us to just kind of bypass that and save that. Look, let me just give you a spoiler, because this is not really what is going to happen in the original Wipeout game. I am going to make a judgment call, and I'm going to say that let's simplify our lives. And in our toy project, let's just think that if I am with the ship in this section right now, right, in this current section, right, the nearest section, the closest section of my ship, let's just simplify our lives. Let's just make a simplification and say that our project, our demo project, is only going to render the track sections that are ahead of us, right? So in front of us. If maybe if we turn the ship and the ship kind of starts looking to the back, then we change things, and then maybe we just render things, the previous sections that are behind us. And this is exactly what the original Wipeout game does. Depending on this view that you are, right? So if you are looking, let's say, north or south or east or west, depending on the orientation of your ship, it decides which tracks to render. And like I said, I'm going to make a simplification, and I'm going to always trust that this linked list that we have of sections, they are correctly ordered, right? So if I am right now in the section, I have everything in the next, and then the next, and then the next, and the next, and all those pointers to the next, everything is in the correct order. So all I have to do is, while it is less than 20 sections, right? So just the 20 sections ahead, I'm going to render them, render the section. I think we already have a function that renders section. Right, so Gustavo, does that mean that if I am racing the track, does that mean that if I'm going right there and I have a bridge that crosses on top of me, I am not going to be able to watch that bridge? In our implementation, I'm going to tell you that that is true, right? So we are only going to, I'm going to make a simplification, and we are only going to see the track sections ahead of us. If I have something at the end of the track that is a bridge that crosses on top of me, I am just going to tell you that we are not going to see that in our implementation, right? In the original game, you actually can see these bridges or all these track sections that are visible within this radius of distance. So you actually can see those other things that are out there. But the wipeout section, the file, there is another file, another encoded linked list inside the file that gives us these visibility things depending on where we're looking at. And you know what? I'm not going to waste too much time explaining that in video. I'm going to add a little article that explains how does the original wipeout encodes these views, what they call the views of the track. Right? So if you're looking north, south, east, or west, it has these different views that kind of dynamically you read from the file. Everything is in the file already. You don't have to compute. So in the file, per section, you have already a list of all the track sections that are visible for you. So do you see where we're going with that? With that in mind, I want to talk to you also about something. You probably realize that we will be, right, it will be a requirement for us to keep track of the section that we are right now, right? So because if I'm navigating with my ship and I'm flying north, if I'm flying like, in front of me, as I am navigating through the track, I should be able to now keep track of what is the closest section that I am right now. This is something that we're going to have to keep track of. So I would say that in my ship.c, right, in my ship struct, I will have a pointer to the nearest section or the closest section that I am right now with my ship. So that is something that I have to keep track. Speaking of which, let's just get that done. So how do you imagine us keeping track of this, the closest section that we are right now in our ship? So I think in our ship.c, actually ship.h, besides storing all those things that I am already storing for the ship, I am going to say that within my ship, I'm going to have a section. It's going to be a pointer to the closest section. It could be nearest section. Actually, I'm just going to say that this is the current section of the ship. I'm just going to call it section, right? So the ship has a section pointer inside, which is the closest section of the track that we are with that ship, right? So as we are navigating, this section pointer is going to change, right? So what is the closest section of the track that I have right now? Shall we do that? So in the next lecture, I'm going to quickly implement, let's implement together this, maybe a function that every update tick of our game, we have to go and check what is the closest section that we have right now in our game. We probably have to compute the closest section at the start of the game. So as we start, right, in the setup function, maybe we have to go and already initialize the ship with the closest section. And then as we are navigating and we are moving in front of the track, then we have to check, are we still in this section or did we actually get closer to a new section? And then we go and we update this thing to the closest one right now, right? The new closest one that we have for the ship. Right, so in the next lecture, let's just quickly try to get that done.